Hello and welcome to Smart Indian Agriculture on the Federal. I am Vivian Fernandez. Our guest today is Swati Nayak of the International Rice Research Institute. She is the recipient of the 2023 Norman Borlaug Award for Field Research and Application. She has been given the award for the translation of rice varieties developed by researchers into crops in farmers' fields after demonstrating suitability for their agroclimatic conditions. Dr. Nayak is the third Indian to receive the Norman Borlaug Field Award since 2012, when it was instituted with an endowment from the Rockefeller Foundation, which, together with the Ford Foundation, played a crucial role in India's Green Revolution. The award is given to a person under the age of 40 years by the World Food Prize Foundation, which was instituted by Dr. Borlaug. Since we are meeting in the shadow of the death of Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, the architect of India's Green Revolution, it would be apt to mention that he was the first recipient of the World Food Prize in 1987. Swati, congratulations. Welcome to this program.
Thank you. Thank you, Vivian.
Swati, after your BSc in Agriculture from Professor Jayashankar, Telangana State Agriculture University in Hyderabad, you went to the Indian Institute of Rural Management, Anand, in Gujarat, and worked among tribals under the Integrated Tribal Development Program. Why did you choose to go in for the application of research rather than into pure research into seeds or plant diseases?
Thank you, Vivian. When I was studying my agriculture, at that point of the time during my graduation was that I was very keen on that how I would work more on towards the applied application of the research or applied research side. So which will have more relevance to, ensuring that the innovations or technology in the science space, which will gating that reaches to the end users and do a broader good for the society. And that was also one of the reasons why I chose IRMA as my next step rather than pursuing my master's and PhD as a regular stream in agriculture.
I have read that as lead seed systems at IRRI, you organized about 10,000 field demonstrations, and out of them, you have selected about 20 rice varieties that are suitable for various agroclimatic conditions in the places that you work. Now, I thought that India has a very robust system of seed approval. And in the public research system, we have what is known as the All India Coordinated Research Trials. So, in those trials, don't we determine the seeds that are suitable for various agroecologies? So, why did you have to do these demonstrations all over again and then discover the suitable varieties?
Yeah. So the traditional, the varietal development programs in our country is almost around, it's more of based on agroecology, and it's also based on the traits, like, what specific traits we develop in a particular variety. But what the approach over here we were trying to follow is that let's take the market as in the centrality, and also take the the end users feedback in the entire matrix more robustly. One of the challenge I saw that, like, even though some amazing research independently being done in the breeding research side versus extension research side, but the connectivity has been missing. And often we ignore the market factors also plays critical role, that which variety will be accepted widely or scale. And we are still struggling with varietal replacement and seed access or quality seed access for the newer varieties and etc. So if we want to really make sure that farmers are adopting newer varieties and getting rid of their older varieties and have that genetic gain stabilized in system, we have to see that that option which we are giving to them is the best of best option, and it has not just one or two traits but a comprehensive packaging to actually overpower the ruling market variety currently and all those things. So again, segmenting them into a market segment, not just on agroecology basis, was one of our goals. So we kind of like resuffered different nominations that came from breeders to put it into priority market segments. Those share the maximum volume of area or farmers growing those kind of segment of variety, and take a benchmark which is actually a market ruling product, or which is very popular, and then we find out the best of best option. And that whole nomination was so blindfolded, and we got from various breeders from various institutions, and we kind of generated very robust and evidence data from trials. So those are not serving demonstrations, but those were generating a lot of data and evidence for us to be very confident that, okay, if I say my variety is giving 5% or 10% yield, that may not be sufficient to make that decision process easy for the farmers. There has to be visible tangible yield advantage, but there has to be many more other characteristics also which a farmer would consider, the miller should consider, the aggregators should consider, that whether we'll take this to market or not. So that comprehensive packaging was missing, and we incorporated in our trialing approach and carried out through our extension system. So this was a more of a also a very strong way of building the capacity of our national extension network and bringing the breeding research group closer to them, so that they are talking more.
When you're talking about market, if the market is so important, then won't the market decide which are the preferable varieties? Because those varieties will be the most in demand, and those varieties will be the ones that the farmers should grow. So why do you require prompting by persons like you?
In the sense that awareness and information about a lot of varieties are missing. Like say 1500 plus varieties are released in our system, rice varieties alone I'm talking about. And then you see that the demand index is only like say 70 to 80% of market volume is captured by say 50 odd varieties and etc. So there could be two problems. Of one is that the information and awareness about the existence of these varieties, very good varieties, are not available with the end users, and that end users include farmers, extension stakeholders, our in the extension chain, dealers, and so many players, and we rampantly being existent, that they are probably not aware where to source or where to get early generation seeds, and whether such kind of variety even exists, and all those things. Because see, in the public system, probably the way the public sector seed organizations behave are very different from private sector. We do not spend much on the market intelligence side. We do not have the capacity, or we do not have the resources even to do create that market intelligence. So it is more of a supply driven. It's not like a demand driven, how the bigger market private sector organization will do. But unfortunately, their focus is more on the high value crops, not for the high volume crops which we are dealing, which is for smallholders and which is for food security. So how do we integrate this progressive market driven approaches versus our conventional or our strong breeding research and etc. So that was something which we tried to bridge the gap, and this is happening now at CGIR level also. So I
So what
played
you're
that
saying is
role.
that the private sectors, seed companies, are very much attuned to the market, but they are mostly focused into high value crops like vegetables or even maize or bajra, hybrid
Yeah.
rice, and all that, but not open pollinating varieties like of wheat or rice.
Not many,
Now,
not many.
yes. No, you said that 1500 rice varieties have been released, and about 300 to 400 of them are indented by the seed suppliers, and out of them the demand is there for 15 odd varieties. Now, isn't that a tremendous waste of breeding research?
Yeah, I can, if you ask me in person, somebody who works with making innovation accessible and available, I do feel that, we need to go a little, take some step back and reflect back on those things, that does our approach really is, something, is it the time to change the way we look at, how our variety development program?
Is that
And of
because, Swati, is that
yeah.
because the incentive structure in the public research system is so skewed that breeders get maybe promotions for putting out seeds and for developing seeds rather than ensuring their acceptance or adaptation by farmers?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there is no incentive over here. Rather, like, the way our system is structured, that we see that, definitely the accolades which is associated with the research group and the breeding resources group, it's more of like, how strong research you have, the research process and the output of research, like, the which variety, how many varieties you have developed and etc. And then the extension system, which has a role of scaling and etc., is also not enough equipped or enough aware or enough there is not that very organic or strong integration which it would have been. So in both the pillars, probably there is not much incentives over here. I mean, of course there is
I'm quite
mandate,
surprised
but
that you're saying that, because we have an elaborate Krishi Vigyan Kendra system. I think there are more than 600 of them or something.
there, and certainly they are the strength, and that is what we are trying to harness over there here. And let me also highlight that in this journey, entire process, what we have done and whatever success we have attained over here, this is because we took a lot of Krishi Vigyan Kendras together, and we created a momentum that changed the approach how we look at it. Like, it is heartening to see, Vivian, that an extensionist or a social scientist or somebody in KBK is talking about genetic gain, which was supposed to be the breeder's language years ago. And the understanding what is that is the change what we have made in last few years. So they are pillar of strength for us, and probably that missing linkage which was there, and how the approach it should be, as a CGI, as representative of CGIR institution, our role was to bridge that gap, and we have been working towards it.
See, during the Green Revolution in the 1960s, we had what is known as the training and visit system, which was developed by the World Bank, where you had village level workers, and they were instructed or educated or trained by subject matter specialists. Now that extension system has fallen into disuse. Can you tell us exactly what you do? How have you tried to revive the extension system? And I think you tried to popularize two rice varieties. One is Sahabagi Dan in Mayurbhanj, and then it's become a very popular variety, I'm told. And also another variety which I forget.
Inadhan.
Yes, yes. So how did you do that?
Yeah. So, see, if we say that formal seed system, we know that there is set of organization, public sector and the private sector, public seed corporations, even some KVKs and universities are also into the seed production and aspect, and then the private companies, the larger players and the medium players. So there are systems and processes. The only thing what we could breeze is that to have that robust information and intelligence on that which breeding pipeline they should look forward to or watch out in order to get a very strong product to be able to position and scale. But on the other side, like for open pollinated varieties, informal system, the farmer managed seed system is a very strong, it plays a strong and critical role. Still, we say that 60% of the volume of seed that gets circulated is through that network and etc. So there lied an opportunity to harness and also to work with a lot of community institutions who are mobilized into institution, who have kind of some basic foundation, but they have not really got into seed as in business or seed as in way of change and etc. So we kind of try to map some of those institutions and help them to also get into and strengthen the potential of seed business, but also how do they do a decentralized quality seed production, because we know that our dealership or retailer network is not that present in terms of like when we talk about the most interior pockets, and we will still not find a dealer outlet over there or etc. And even though it is there, a few choices are available. So hence, why don't we actually use with these village level community agents or potential enterprising farmer or somebody, be it a woman, be it a young person, and then engage them as a localized, seed dissemination process. So that is something also we did, and we invested very rigorously in that season long capacity building, not just like, one classroom training and then writing the names that, okay, they have received the trainings, but it was long, showing them how to do this step, that step, designing manuals which are not text heavy because they might not be able to read and comprehend scientific language, but making it more a stepwise pictorial things, which is more friendly. So we kind of took these small yet innovative approaches to engage with them also, so that they are providing a large volume of supplementing quality seed apart from the formal system, which may take its own sweet time to, scale a variety, because early generation seed supply is also, need to be also pushed ahead to be able to
Yeah.
multiply the seeds.
Yeah. So while the dealer network may not be so extensive, is it also possible that the seeds that the farmers demand, they are not very paying for the dealers, and that is why you have to depend on community organizations because they are not profitable for the dealers?
Even though, I mean, no, there it's not being profitable, but it's also like, it, it all depends upon the current business volume of a leading say seed agency in a particular state or something, and their whole dealership network. And I see there is every year there is, increase in numbers, but then at the same, so some traditional pockets, even if there are dealers, I mean, they are registered as such, but they may not be very proactive or active in terms of, like, their stocking capacity, like, how much they can stock the volume, or timely, reaching, like, if they can be really, have that, marketing ability, or, intelligence that, okay, I would be very aggressive to stock it up very soon, or in a faster manner, and etc. And farmers will not wait the till you supply. The season is running, and then, like, they want to go in a timely sowing manner, and then whatever is available, they just go for it. And in that case, it is often like we say that it is saved grains being used as seed, but not like, those things. But again, like, we are bringing in improved varieties, the resilient, climate resilient varieties, or high nutrient value, high zinc varieties, or those kind of, new generation varieties, which were telling them that you, instead of your high yielding varieties which you are growing, you replace with these traits characteristics also, so that it
So are
gives
you
more value.
suggesting that the seed replacement ratio is not what it should be?
Yeah, certainly it is not. We see that on an average 30% it is for rice, and but it varies, like, in some states it may be higher, but in some states, like, smallholder area, region, it could be very dismal also. So we do understand it is still not, reached to its potential, and there is a room for in ensuring that, there is seed replacement and quality seed access at the local level, so that
In the
it is
groups that you
timely.
work, what is the seed replacement ratio?
Yeah, that's more of like an average 30%, I'd
Is that
say.
a good ratio?
So much optimal. So we might need to improve, maybe. Like, we have the, say, I could say 40-50%, which should, I mean, we will be saying that.
Now, you also work a lot among women. Could you tell us something about the feminization of agriculture? Uh, is Indian agriculture becoming more and more feminine? Are more and more women doing agriculture, unlike in the past?
Uh, Actually, there are different sides to it, but certainly, like, we have seen, like, rural out migration, and lot of all those kind of thing often has by default also left many women who are at home taking care of farm and households. But traditionally, we all understand that women have been part and parcel of agriculture, an equal partner. The only thing that has been missing is their identity as farmer, to be honest. Because land records do not have their name as the farmers, so they are deprived of so-called, like, direct access to information, inputs, or any kind of first hand thing, that training or everything happen, because they don't their name doesn't run in the list of beneficiaries, so-called what we say. So but due to certain this is what we are trying to change, and this is what also, like,
So you are saying that the women were all along engaged in agriculture. Now you are trying to make them more visible, give them an identity.
more
Got
visible
it.
in.
Yes.
Yeah.
You talked about, you said that you do a lot of training and hand holding and all that. Can you tell us how contact intensive is your work, or have modern communication technologies like WhatsApp, videos, and others greatly aided your work and reduced the need for personal contact?
Uh, we have certainly used the digital medium to, to build the capacity, and this capacity building or the trainings are layered. Who it all depends other stakeholders. Like, suppose they are the seed growers and they are from community, be it men and women and etc. So that probably needs some hands-on training to teach them how to do different steps like the rogging and etc, and cleaning, storage and etc. With their, sometimes, like, they might not have access to even high cost equipments or that kind of equipment which we are projecting in through a visual or a training video is not completely relatable to them. So in those cases, we actually need to have a, very primary contact mode of, training to do the hands-on training, what we say. So we do invest a lot on that aspect, but that needs to be that also needs to be in TOT manner, because one scientist obviously cannot reach to millions of farmers. So there comes the role of, existing extension stakeholders and the functionaries or the village level workers or many those kind of TOTs whom we invest in training. The other modes are like, like a lot of data enumerators, a lot of, paraprofessionals who are engaged in terms of, like, generating data from our trials and etc. For them, certainly we create micro modules, video micro modules and all those things, so that they can recall that, okay, at this stage we have to measure this and that, this has to be scientifically done and all everything. So we kind of short micro modules we create, we circulate them so that they are able to, do that on field. So both methods are followed.
Two of the rice varieties that you are popularized, one is Sahawagi and the other one which Bina Dan 11. One is drought tolerant, the other is flood resistant. Now, a lot of activists who are engaged with tribals or smallholder farmers, they are saying that we must get away from industrial agriculture and from all the seeds produced by these big corporations, because farmers have conserved varieties which they have developed over the decades and which are resilient. They may not be high yielding, but they are resilient. And in case of weather aberrations, farmers at least will not lose money. So, can you tell us, would you advocate that we go in for those conserved varieties of farmers, or should we go in for the ones developed by the research organizations and the corporations?
Yes, Vivian, is a very pertinent question, and let me tell you that a whole, the conceptual error which or the foundation which all we are talking about is that they have to be, against these two pathways or these two approaches has to be, against each other. They can coexist, and both of them have their pros and cons. Let me also highlight that thing. The time when green revolution came and when we started talking about high yielding varieties and the productivity gain and everything, imagine that period when millions were dying out of starvation. The whole food security was at threat. So we cannot deny the boon of arrival of high yielding varieties to save us from starving, or a nation of millions. And now we are 130 billion country, and there are many, such countries and etc. So HYBs remains as one of the pillar to ensure the food productivity. And seed as such, its quality seed as such is such technology or input, irrespective of any other modern superimposed package of practices. Forget about fertilizer, forget about any other things. It has its own genetic capacity to give a better yield to the farmers. But apart from that, our traditional rice segment is also, very promising. Now we do see that a lot of these land races have yield disadvantages, but then it can have a due to some of the premium qualities or traits they have in terms of grain quality, in terms of aroma, in terms of its own unique value of where people prefer it for consumption, and etc. So what we really have to focus the coexistence of these two segments for the smallholder farmers, but apart from that also like creating a value chain for this kind of traditional rice also, like if there is a yield of trade-off over here, the only way the farmers growing these varieties, the producer can benefit is by fetching a better price in the market. And this is the whole positioning statement for this traditional rice as well. So we have to ensure they are earning, their income is also being enhanced. So how we create that value chain pathway in
So
future coming years
I mean,
should remain a
that is the
critical.
role of marketing. For example, what has been done in the case of Sharbati Atta, ITC has done it. So similarly, there are so many rice varieties, and companies may have to create those marketing messages so that farmers prefer these varieties that you mentioned.
Why only
Yeah.
companies? Even the public sector can play a role to empower the producers, like who are producing this traditional rice or conserving. They are our genome surveyors, they are our grassroots warriors whom we consider and respect. But that only is that whole process of how do we aggregate, where do we grow, where does the quality seed comes, because those varieties are not in seed chain. So and then if there we can bring some of them into the seed chain also, these varieties, by directly notifying and then starting the purification and process and etc. to conserve it better and more. So those steps, small steps needs to be done, and that can certainly has its own value, and that needs to coexist, like kala namak, kala jeera in Odisha, kala champa, and these are some of the, it has a lot of significance and value. And I think yeah, I mean, I would really love to work in that space in my coming years, so look forward to that.
Yeah. Now, seeds are one aspect. The other aspect is agronomy. How do we, our cultivation practices. Now, among the smallholder farmers that you work with, how do you ensure that they follow sustainable practices? Because aberrant weather is becoming more frequent and we have to adjust to climate change. So, how are you incorporating that in your training schemes?
Yes. So in many areas, like, the first one principle is that, like, when we generate a lot of evidence on this varietal performance and encourage farmer to grow a particular variety and seed, is primarily we try to get evidence from farmer management practices. We really do not go for any kind of optimization, to be precise, because that can give us a very erroneous figure or a perception. And we as a researcher can be also biased, because everything what we write as a yield potential of a particular technology may not be standing true, holding true, when they are in the real life situation or in the farmer's field. So that is something which we go as an approach. But apart from that, like, how if we have those technology or agronomic practices which a smallholder farmer can adopt and which is not much cost intensive, we certainly try to integrate with all those aspects. And there are several other scientists who are working in my organization with whom we like site specific nutrient management, where the natural farming, the cover crop, or the water saving technologies and etc. Wherever there is potential of integrating those things, and especially it is primarily affordable for the farmers, we integrate with that.
And there's a lot of adaptation. Farmers adapt them, or is there resistance to change?
No, I mean, there is certainly adoption, and for example, but it all depends upon the how it has, or how costly the technology is. So if it requires a lot of incentive, a lot of investment in terms of its, if it is about machinery, it is about high cost investment and etc. Maybe it is more of a like the model has to be service provision and etc. But they do adopt. But as I say, the scaling of seed as a technology is always faster than the agronomy as a technology because of some of the cost implications engaged with that. But we try to make, customize or precision agronomy, which is according to their, potential or capacity. And in that manner, they adopt.
All right, Swati Nayak, for sharing the insights which you gleaned through your vast field experience and for making the time. Thank you very much.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.